And I have my own strange opinion about conventions, and I'll share it with you first. And that is that I've actually never ever stuck to the subject. Ever. And the reason for that is most of the time I don't even understand the topic as they write it. That's the honest truth. So when I read a state unjust to your soul, I thought of New Jersey. But in all seriousness, what I appreciated, at least in this program, was and MSAs do this more than conventions, but MSAs, you know what they do? They write this like paragraph under the title of your speech, and it's longer than your speech. And so, you read that and you get even more confused. So I've decided to not stick to subjects and just prepare something from the Quran and present it. What I do appreciate about today's session, and I was looking at the program, they actually cited that the talk should be inspired by, based on an ayah of the Quran, which I really appreciated. Because I personally feel that you can't get better sense of direction than from Allah's book. And even an ayah is enough to guide a conversation. Every ayah is enough for us to reflect upon and learn something from, by Allah's mercy. This particular ayah I've talked about on several occasions, so I'll be brief in some introductory comments because it belongs to a story in Surah Al-Kahf. Surah Al-Kahf mentions 4 stories, this is the second of them, and this is the story about 2 gardeners. And if you don't know about this story much, I'll just lay out the scene for you as Allah Himself lays it out because it's important to understand the background before we get to the ayah at hand. Allah Azza wa Jalla says, وَضْرِبْ لَهُمْ مَثَلَ الرَّجُلَيْنِ. Give an example to the people. The example, that is 2 men. جَعَلْنَا لِأَحَدِهِمَا جَنَّتَيْنِ مِنْ أَعْنَابٍ. We set for one of them 2 gardens. We provided one of them with 2 gardens. So the story began with 2 men. But now Allah will dedicate a couple of ayat just to describe the wealth of one of them. Just to talk about how much he owns, how much his wealth is. First he says this one of these guys owns 2 gardens, jannatayn. Then he says min a'nabin. These gardens are made up of, this is called min bayaniya, which actually means it's made up of palm trees, or actually grapevines. Grapevines. Now if you know anything about grapevines, they're very delicate plants. And they are also extremely rare. You can't just grow grapevines anywhere. So it's prime real estate, it's expensive real estate, and the most delicate kinds of plants are being grown on it, which requires protection and manpower. Grapevines aren't the kind of plant you can just plant and leave. You have to have a lot of servants and workers going around taking care of it. That's why some of the most expensive countryside farmland is vineyards, because they have grapevines. Okay? So Allah says that the 2 properties he owns, and they've got grapevines in them, min a'nab. But the thing with these plants is that they're weak. So even if a little bit of wind comes, they can break. The trellis can break, the stick can break, and they can get damaged, and your entire year's crop is gone. How do you protect these plants from the wind? Allah says, وَحَفَفْنَاهُمَا بِنَخْلٍ. We fortified both of those gardens with palm trees. Now any kind of tree can protect from the wind. But Allah chose to describe that in this garden, Allah used what kind of tree? Palm tree. Which is itself an exotic plant. Itself is an exotic plant. I live in Texas. We don't see trees much. Right? But when I travel or outside of Texas, I go to some places. Some of the most beautiful places in the United States that I've been to are like California. Right? Parts close to the water. And what's the first thing you notice when you land? Palm trees. We associate, even to this day in advertising, when they try to entice you into taking a vacation, what's the imagery going to be? Water and what? Palm trees. It's a sign of something exotic, something special.